Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Scott Luton and Kevin L. Jackson with you here on Supply Chain. Now, welcome to today's live stream. Kevin, how you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. Even though it's raining outside, it's not snow. And the flowers are starting to come up in my front yard. So maybe
Okay,
we're through the winter. Hey?
I love that. We hadn't gotten much snow down here, but I know you've had snow up your way. And yes, it's been raining cats and dogs for like 2 days down here. I'll have to share a little story with you after our live show here today because I really stepped into this morning as Amanda knows, but I digress. Um, Hey, folks, today's show, it's a special edition of The Buzz. It's a Digital Transformers edition, which takes
Yes,
place
sir.
every second Monday each month. Now, Kevin, we're going to be discussing a variety of news and developments today across global business with an extra helping of all things technology. And hey, folks, we want to hear from you. Give us your take in the comments throughout the show. And Kevin, one last thing. If folks are listening to the podcast replay, which we usually drop on
Mhm.
Fridays, hey, consider joining us live on LinkedIn or YouTube or some other social media channel of your choosing. We'd love to hear from you. And if you love today's show, Kevin, it'd be great for folks to share it with a friend or their network. Did I cover all our bases there, Kevin?
Yes, I think so. It's the live show was where you can really interact with this global audience. And I get so much from, the back and forth on the chat. So I learned so much about what everyone is doing, and that interaction, invigorates me.
Yes, I'm with you, man. And that's a great word. That's like a 25 cent, maybe a 50-cent word with inflation these days. Invigorates all of us. All right. So on the front end, so folks, today we're going to go through 4 news stories, and we're going to get my take and Kevin's take, and probably your take as well. But before we go there, we love sharing resources around here, right? And powerful information that we can act on, right? And we're going to lead
Mhm.
today with the U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index for Q4 2023. It was just released last week, and it covers all the inner workings of the U.S. domestic freight market, especially from a shipment and a spend volume, and with lots of economic and industry things going on that impacted the freight market. Right. So it's a free resource. It's released each quarter, chock full of things that will help you view the market and view everything going on there with context and give you information to make decisions for the next quarter. So check it out, freight.usbank.com, and we include the link in the chat as well. All right,
You
Kevin,
know,
moving
I,
right along. I'm
yes,
sorry. Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that I really like that bank index information because you get all this, competing information about what the economy is doing, right? And this is really sort of uh, ground truth that
Yeah.
you can use to make decisions about, what you're going to spend, what you're going to do, how you're going to run your business. That's what makes it so important.
Well said, Kevin. And maybe and big thanks to Catherine and Amanda behind the scenes. Maybe they can drop the link. But last week we had a live stream with Eric
Hmm.
from Total Quality Logistics, and of course Bobby Holland with U.S. Bank, and we dove in to the Q4 2023 U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index and what it means per region, which is one of my favorite parts of it. Right, you get the national view, and then you get the regionalized view. We'll include a link to that show. Y'all check that out. But most importantly, check out the free and powerful resource that is the Freight Payment Index. Okay. And Kevin, ask and ye shall receive. We got an easy link right there for folks to check out. All right. So moving right along, Kevin, let's talk about, want to recognize, of course, it's Black History Month. So dive in, lean into stories old and new that celebrates the enormous contributions globally from Blacks and African Americans. And Kevin, we've had a variety of shows focused on Black History Month and Juneteenth and other
Yeah.
special times of the calendar. What's one of you when you think through? I was talking about this with Greg last week, and Greg's he's on assignment out there covering the big game.
Yeah.
But Kevin, one quick question: when you think about Black History Month throughout the month of February, and we all with um, a lot of very stories and legacies that we celebrate every year, probably since we were in like grade school. But when you think of maybe a story that isn't as heard and doesn't get as much amplification in terms of someone that made a deep impact across business or society or you name it, what's one figure, maybe Kevin, that comes to your mind?
That's kind of a interesting question because I have sort of a contrarian view on that.
Okay.
You know, I feel that history, especially Black history, is made every day by ordinary people
Mm,
that aren't, in the books or, aren't on television. And I think it's important to note that everyone can make history that's important to the nation. So
mm,
when you are thinking about, Black History Month, think about how you can contribute to the world, how you can contribute to the nation, and how you can make Black history every day. I think that's
mm.
even more important. It,
I
and it,
love
and
that.
it, it yeah,
I love that. And I think last time you were with us, I think last month, we were
uh-huh.
celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And one of the things that I love that I took with me, and I think it comes from the King Center, is this quote: "It starts with me." Right? It starts with each
Yes.
of us in terms of whether or not we choose to make history each and every day, or make the world better, or you name it. So, Kevin, I love that, and I don't think that's too contrarian. I like Black history is made every day, Kevin. I love that.
Black history is made every day.
All right. All right, folks. Let's move right along. We want to make sure we wish a prosperous and healthy and happy Lunar New Year to all of our friends around the world that may be celebrating that over the next week and a half, 2 weeks or so. So, hope let us know. Let us know how you celebrate. Kevin, over the weekend I was reading. I think it came from NPR. Customary dishes around the world in a
Yeah.
variety of countries that folks lift up and make and enjoy during the Happy Lunar New Year festivities, and all of them sounded so delicious and sheer violations of my diet, Kevin. So I couldn't, I couldn't, I
you
couldn't
know,
do it.
couldn't do it. About 3 years ago,
Yeah.
about just before COVID, I guess it was, I was happened to be in San Francisco during Lunar New Year. And they have this big parade down in
Yeah.
the financial district, and it was just crowded, and it was just so much fun, and was eating all kinds of food, and it was just so joyous. I think that's one of the things. All the firecrackers going on and big dragons going down the street.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very, very festive, and I enjoyed the Lunar New Year celebration much more than the run of the mill real New Year
Yes.
celebration, because it's not all about. It wasn't all about waiting for midnight and then going to bed, right? It was a celebration of life, and everybody was enjoying everyone else. I think that's more important, and
Yeah.
wishing and sharing stories, and really appreciating what the new year promises. So
Mm.
that's just sort of a little side note, I guess.
I love it. It's a big side note. And you know what? I would like it a lot more because it's like 2 weeks versus we get one night. So
Yeah, right,
let's lean in
exactly.
and celebrate. Um, all right. So before I share this last resource, and then before we dive into all four stories, I want to say hello to a bunch of folks we got here today, starting with Afiz from Lagos, mainland Nigeria. Great to have you via LinkedIn. Let's looking forward to your take on some of the stories we talk about. Tomcat is back with us via Twitch. They say supply chain now, the mic in hand, Scott and Kevin, a dynamic band through airwaves and mic.
Yes,
Their voices
like that.
resound in the world of supply chain. They wear the crown. Man, how about that?
Ooh, wow.
The mic has been dropped, Tomcat. The mic has been dropped. Oh, man, that's great. Josh Goody is back with us, the pride of Seattle. He says, if you want an awesome story, check out The True Story of Yasuke. Are you familiar with that story, Kevin?
No, I'm not.
All right, Josh.
I'm gonna have to Google that one.
Drop a link. Let's see here. Glorimar is back with us. Great to see you. She says, yes, Lunar New Year celebration in San Francisco is the best. It's the best.
Yes, sir.
And finally, Kevin, we have Gino Pledger. Gino, hope this finds you well. Now, Kevin, one little note about Gino. He just launched a new venture, and he might want to tell us about it. You know, he has spent years. He's spent years in the industry. He's also a rock and roll drummer, but one of his passions in life is helping the light bulb go off with new minds and old minds and all minds, really. So, Gino, if you want to share, would love to know what's going on with you. Drop that in the chat. We'd like to celebrate with you. Okay, so Kevin, man, we got so much to get to here today. I want to share one more.
Oh, wow, so much from Switzerland. I love Switzerland.
Okay. Gwen, great to see you. Good evening from Switzerland. Great to have you here via LinkedIn. Let us know your take on some of the stories we walked through here today. And yes, Tomcat, that was awesome. Keep up the great work. And as I mentioned, you dropped the mic on that one. Okay, Kevin, one more thing to share with folks about resources. It's With That Said. So our almost weekly newsletter we dropped over the weekend. We included news and factoids related to the Super Bowl, the food industry. By the way, did you know pork demand is way down and pork supply is way up here in the States? R&D tax credits coming back, perhaps for U.S. manufacturers, and a whole lot more. Plus, we always include the live events for the week ahead. So y'all check out. We're going to drop the link in the chat. Or With That Said newsletter, jam-packed for information you can use. Kevin, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, for a second there, I thought we were going to get through this without talking about the big game. But I want to say congratulations to both Kansas City and San Francisco.
Okay.
Because that was, first of all, it was an awesome game. They brought it. Both teams brought it. And they left it all out there on the field. And there's no reason for San Francisco to hold your head down. And of course, it's great to be two-peats. I guess they're talking three-peat now. But what's more important is that both of the teams were just tremendous. That's all I want to say.
It was a great game, whether you were a fan of those two teams or not a fan. Congrats, of course, to the biggest Chief fan I know, Greg White. I know it's probably celebrating the dynasty that the Chiefs have inarguably built over the last 5-10 years, whatever you want to call it. So, but congrats to the Chiefs and Niners for an incredible game and lots of really cool commercials too. Okay, so Kevin, are you ready to get into our first article here today?
I think so. I'm going to get my notepad ready. I know you always bring a lot of information, so I got to make sure I write it down. Okay, number one.
Kevin, you made my day. If Kevin L. Jackson takes notes after a conversation from you, you just made my day, Kevin. So let's get into.
I listen to you.
Okay. All right. We were talking in the pre-show about best week ever. I think that was like an old VH1 TV show that was on for years back in the day. Well, I want to start with a company who had the best year ever in 2023, and I bet Mattel is certainly on the short list. Now, Kevin, according to Retail Dive, the brand behind Barbie and Hot Wheels and Fisher-Price and plenty of others, it just smashed fourth quarter financials with a 9-fold increase in net income for that period when compared to the previous year. We're not talking small potatoes. We're talking $147 million this year in fourth quarter, or last year in fourth quarter, versus only $16 million in fourth quarter 2022, right? Also,
had anything to do with the Barbie movie?
Well, you just beat me to it. Barbie, Kevin. I knew it was big, but get this: Barbie was the highest grossing movie in Warner Brothers history. And
Jeez.
the WB's been around for a while with all kinds of
Yeah.
smashes. But shifting over, because operationally, Mattel has been impacted more than others by the Red Sea shipping disruptions, as an estimated almost 24% of the company's sales are in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And last week, Mattel announced that it is now targeting about $200 million in cost savings by 2026. And to no one's surprise, they're going to be looking at cutting costs in their global supply chain organization. They expect toy sales to cool in 2024, so that makes
Okay.
maybe one of their choices easier, because Mattel says they're going to start saving money by closing a plant in China as they kick off this big cost savings initiative. So, Kevin, your thoughts with what Mattel has going on over there?
Well, they say that things you can't avoid is death and taxes. Well, you can't avoid toys either, right? This is one of the industries that, as long as you're going to have children, you're going to have toys. And so
That's
I
right.
hope they always are in business. Um, and I think Mattel is, one of those giants that will never go away. And they know how to read the business and they know how to read people.
Mm,
So I think they're going to continue to be strong.
well said. Well said. And the CEO, as I recall, as we were reading through the story from Retail
Mhm.
Dive and a few other places, they have turned the company around in many ways, and they were talking
Yeah.
about how their financials are the strongest position in years. So rather than sit on their laurels, like a lot of companies can do after a good quarter or a good year, they're putting it to work and find more efficiencies, and we'll see, maybe position their company for a lot of new smashingly successful projects like Barbie. Goodness gracious, what an incredible film that was that everyone, ever to a person, Kevin, everyone that I
Yeah.
have run into that has checked out that movie absolutely loves it. How about you?
That's really a lesson on transformation,
That's
right? They're not they've looked at the marketplace, looked at how people are interacting with one another, and they picked a multimedia channel
Yes,
to actually reinvigorate their core business. So I think that's smart. That's brilliant.
it is, and there's that invigorate word, reinvigorate this time. It's going to appear again and again and again throughout today's show. And by the way, before we move on, I want to make sure we recognize. So Gina, which I was talking about early, is diving into providing APIC certification training, helping companies with strategic planning, and that is his passion. And I tell you, Gino's one of the good guys in the industry out there. So connect with him, and it's great always to have you a part of our audiences here, Gino. We're smarter with you being here. Hey, I want to share this also with Josh. Josh says plastics manufacturing has had some major disruptions going on. A lot of the medical plastics, pipette tips, for example. I think it's like a culinary
Mm,
thing, right? That pipette tip you squeeze
mm.
icing in and then kind of can
Ah,
have art across your cupcakes or cakes, whatever.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
a lot of the medical plastics, he was saying, were moved from China to Saudi Arabia and is facing longer lead times around the current conflict with Yemen.
With
You're
Yemen.
absolutely right, Josh. What that's adding to the bottom line and just the risk in general. I mean, think sheer physical damage to shipping, and of course, plenty of financial damage. But great point there, Josh. I think Josh, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, I think Josh is in the plastics manufacturing industry. Always good to get tips. Um,
Plastics.
yes,
One word. Plastics.
that's right.
What
Oh man.
movie was that? Okay, in the comments. The first person that gets that movie
Um,
wins my undying gratitude.
so the quote is, I got one word, plastics. That's the quote, Kevin.
Yes.
Okay. We'll see if someone weighs in.
There it
And
is. Tomcat jumped on it.
Graduate. Okay. Is that the one with Dustin Hoffman back in
Yes.
the day? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tomcat, thanks for being Johnny on the spot. I'm not sure if I've seen that movie. I know it's a classic, and I'll add it to
Yeah.
my weekend viewing. But The Graduate was supposed to be like won all kinds of Oscars, didn't it, Kevin?
Hmm.
Okay. I didn't know you're a classic movie buff. We'll have to dive into that more. All right.
I'm
But for
not going to go. I
now,
know three things, right?
For now, though, for now, we were just talking about a transformation, right? Kevin,
Yes.
you gave me such a great segue, and I missed it by going a different direction. But I want to circle back because we want to talk about this article via Forbes about how to achieve better, stronger return on investment in your digital transformation. And I bet Mattel is going to be deploying some of these ideas here. This is a great read via our friends at Forbes. And I want to, Kevin, before I
Hmm.
toss it to you and you kind of unpack some things that from driving ROI with when it comes to your digital transformation, I want to share 5 particular components of successful returns producing digital transformation strategies that were named specifically in this read.
Okay.
1, product development excellence. 2,
Yes.
manufacturing optimization. 3, supply chain integration. 4, outbound logistics streamlining. And
Hmm.
5, innovation with low code solutions. I'm going to add a little blurb on that 5th one here in a minute. But first, Kevin, tell us more about this. And, you've been a part of these out in the industry. What do we need to know here?
Well, first of all, you were talking about Mattel and how they were going to cut costs. Well, actually, digital transformation can cut costs in three particular areas. The essential components are things like product lifecycle management, understanding what your customer knows and delivering that. Enterprise resource planning, understand your supply chain, what you need, and optimizing that. And then manufacturing execution systems. And how those systems link with the rest of your enterprise business systems. Now, this is where a focus or strategic use of low code solutions really bring it, right? Because they catalyze transformative success in your business. Because with software, you say if you can think of it, you can do it with software. So, but as often is the case, it's the people that's
Right.
the challenge. So throughout this process, you may encounter resistance to change, some complexities with integrating different processes and data flows, and data security concern and privacy, which is always needs to be at the forefront of your thinking. But to overcome this, you have to have proactive communications with your team
Yeah.
about the benefits of digital transformation. This is vital. You also have to have in place a change management framework that can create your culture that embraces innovation and help mitigate that resistance. And this is really where those 5 items come in, which you mentioned at the top of this. You can actually uh, have product development excellence by centralizing collaboration, your data management, and your version control using PLM. You integrate your into your systems to optimize processes, to optimize your manufacturing in order to provide that real-time visibility. And within your collaborative hubs, make better decisions. Incorporate ERP and digital tools in your supply chain integration. This gives you that seamless connection between your supply chain processes and your other business processes or business functions.
Yeah.
Outbound logistics. We always talk about it's no longer a supply chain, but it's a supply web, right?
Mm,
You need to address those outbound logistics by leveraging cloud computing and cloud solutions. And finally, as I mentioned before, low code solutions. Software can do a lot, but sometimes the barrier is having that technical skill set on your
yes.
team to write the software. Now, today, with low code solutions, you don't have to have that skill set. So these low code platforms uh, actually provide faster and more rapid innovation without compromising the quality. So,
A lot of good stuff there, Kevin. A lot of good stuff by someone that has been there and done it, as you've been involved in all kinds of those projects in a variety of sectors in your career. But two quick thoughts I want to share.
yeah.
And I love your focus there on a couple times on that low code. I had a great conversation with some folks we're going to be doing a show with here soon, Tom and Jake and their teams last week. And we were talking frankly, it's one of those pre-show calls that you're
Hmm.
exchanging, kind of practitioner expertise and thoughts, and it can be a passionate discussion,
New
right?
ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, ideas and experiences and you name it. Well, you know me, I'm always focused on the people of industry. That's one of my passions, right? The people of global supply chain, the people involved in transformation, you name it, right?
Yeah.
So as we were
Hmm.
talking about the gap that exists often between planning and execution, right? It's a timeless challenge. And I made a remark that, hey, people are how you can bridge and make it happen. Thinking of
Yes.
empowering. But Tom came back and said, it's technology. Technology is the only way you can get it done. And I stopped for a second, and you know, it's a simplistic point, but it's a really important point because, as we know, as you and I both know, technology these days can do things in minutes that would take humans years, millennium to
Yeah.
do, right? And it's really important. I mean, it still puts the onus on leadership to invest in technology and train their team, or first off, to your point, tell people why we're doing what we're doing, right?
Hmm.
And then help with and make sure we're investing in training so that adoption's there, so that results will be there. But that was such a great point in that conversation for me last week with Tom and Jake and their team. We gotta, there's no getting around it. We gotta lean in to technologies. Otherwise, it is we could die like the dinosaurs. Kevin, your quick response to
Yes.
that.
Well, we can't be afraid of technologies. And what sort of jumped in my mind is the pre-show discussion we were having, and Amanda was piping up about this new tool
Yeah.
that leverages artificial intelligence and AI to put complex things into more simple terms.
Mm,
Now think about that. So this advanced technology is enabling or helping humans communicate better.
mm.
All
I
right.
that
So
is
technology helps human. It's not an either or.
right. It that's such a interesting point. It is such an interesting point. I want to add one other thing too, about low code. Low code movement is not new. Organizations have been trying that out for a while, but it's
Hmm.
grown. It's grown tons of momentum. Kevin, many companies out there working on initiatives that will empower those non-technologists or non-technical
Yeah.
team members to better successfully use tech like AI and drive results more and more often without having to lean solely on those IT teams that probably have kind of full plates. And this whole concept, this whole industry trends. One things I spoke about in a recent conversation with Mike Griswold from Gartner that we're going
Yeah.
to be dropping soon. But Kevin, I love the notion of that. Again, it's common sense, but it allows your whole team to take advantage of technology and not just the folks that are really adept at leveraging tech. That's a great,
Yeah.
great movement, huh?
Right. And also, it's all about collaboration. I mean, technology is important and critical, but technology can be used to help collaborate as well.
Yes,
Look at what we do today, how we collaborate across thousands and thousands of miles with virtual tools and webinars and briefings. And I mean, this is amazing. This is technology that's enabling people to communicate better.
that's right. Execute better, make better decisions, have more success. And that's
Yes.
certainly a lot of the good news in my ears in today's environment. Folks, let us know what you're seeing out there. Let us know examples in your own organization or out there what you're seeing out in the market, maybe with suppliers or customers or whatever, where you're seeing companies make it easier for the non-tech folks amongst us, including me. I raise my hand, and enable them to be successful. I think it's such an important trend. Okay, folks, as always, we'll drop the links to all of these reads in the chat so you can check them out later, and then let us know your take later as well, maybe even next week, because you can catch
Mhm.
the buzz every Monday at 12 noon Eastern time, almost without fail. All right, so Kevin, moving right along to our third story here today. Now, this features some eye-popping numbers. I mean,
Yeah,
eye-popping
I was
numbers.
looking at that. Yes.
This comes from CNBC. Sam Altman, the OpenAI CEO, is on an elephant hunt, at least I'll call it that, as he looks to raise between $5 and $7 trillion. Trillion.
Jeez.
Now, Altman has grown tired of the supply and demand challenges that have dragged on and dragged on and dragged on related to AI chips and how it's been limiting, frankly, OpenAI's growth. So clearly, he's on a mission to overhaul the industry and dramatically scale up global chip building capacity. Now, Kevin, folks, many of you out there, maybe you don't like Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, but you can still see some great stuff. And one of the great quotes here came from what Altman dropped on X. He says, quote, "We believe the world needs more AI infrastructure, meaning fab capacity, energy, data centers, etc., than people are currently planning to build. Building massive scale AI infrastructure and a resilient supply chain is crucial to economic competitiveness," end quote. Now, NVIDIA is a big player now. It holds about
Mm,
80%
yes.
of the AI chip market. Man, Altman is probably looking to turn that on its head and is reportedly seeking investors globally, including the government of the United Arab Emirates. All right, Kevin, your thoughts?
you know, you say the number, he's looking to raise $5 to $7 trillion. But, how many people really understand what you said? I'm going to put it in perspective. All right.
Okay.
Everyone knows the country of Germany. It's one of the largest countries from an economic point of view in the
Yep.
world, right?
Yep.
The gross domestic product, the amount of goods, the value of all the goods that Germany created in 2022
Okay.
was $4.4 trillion dollars.
That is unbelievable.
Now, Germany is the third largest country in the world
Hmm.
when measured by GDP.
Hmm.
The only two countries that are higher are China at 17.7 trillion and the United States at 26.9 trillion. So he's looking to raise money that's largest than the more money than the third largest economy on the globe.
It's mind-boggling. That's the best word I can use to describe it. And I'll also tell you, Kevin, so he's looking to raise either a little bit more money than Germany's GDP or about the average contract of a major league baseball star. $5 to $7 trillion. Goodness gracious. And Gino says NVIDIA value is greater than the China stock market. How about that?
Yes.
Uh, so, Kevin, before we move
Mhm.
on to our fourth and final story, have you ever been? I have not been to a chip foundry yet. That's on my bucket list. Have you ever visited one? Anything? If you have, anything you can share with us
Oh,
of what it's like?
yes. I've been to a couple of them. I went to a Chinese one, um, Huawei, in Guangzhou.
Okay,
And actually, here in Manassas, there's a AMD chip manufacturing location. I had the opportunity to do a tour in.
man.
And the thing that really jumps out at you is that the technology is ancient.
Really?
They use lithography, printing. you
I
know,
yeah, I got
that's
you.
the technology. You have these huge silicon wafers, right? And you print the circuits on these chips.
Hmm.
So think about it. Leading edge microchips use ancient technology printing. It's basically a printing press.
That- It's a bit of a conundrum, it seems.
Yeah.
And maybe it's due that industry is due. Maybe this is part of Altman's plans to innovate and create new ways of making these super chips that are powering AI and all the other cutting edge technologies out there. I wonder if that's part of his plan, then, Kevin.
I think maybe so, because what's happening is you're creating these chips. You're putting multiple layers on these chips,
Hmm,
and the capabilities are just mind-boggling.
they
We
are.
all know that, yeah.
Maybe we'll have to
And
use some of those pipettes that Josh was talking about earlier. Maybe we can incorporate that into production. All right.
I don't know. They're already smarter than us in some areas. So
All right. This is gonna be an interesting discussion. This fourth and final article. This is gonna be an interesting one to wrap
Mhm.
this show on. It's all about quantum computing. So, what's one of the things we need all these super chips for? Well, I would argue to fuel quantum computing, which is going to leave, I promise you, it's going to leave a big mark on global business, the world supply chain, and much more. But I want to level set here first. So, this article here from our friends at EY,
Mhm.
Ernst
Ernst
and
and
Young,
Young,
Ernst
yeah.
and Young. We'll go with that. Focuses on the TMT supply chains. That might be a new acronym for many folks out there. TMT, technology, media and entertainment, and telecommunications. So that's level set number one. Number two, Kevin. So you're our resident technologist here at Supply Chain Now. You've been out in industry for quite some time, including one of my favorite. I'm a big old space nerd. We'll have to get some of your NASA stories later. But
Yeah.
tell us if you can level set, especially for folks out there that don't have a technology degree or engineering degree.
Mhm.
What we're talking about when we say quantum computing, Kevin?
Well, so this may be a challenge to make something that's as complex as quantum computing simple to understand.
Right?
But I think I'm up to the challenge. But the first thing I want to do is link it to supply chain. We are talking about the information supply chain here, because movies, music, entertainment is really about delivering information in different ways. Okay, those are the bits that you transmit ideas into visuals,
Yep.
you transmit feelings into music. So it's really the information supply chain we're talking about. And classic computing uses ones and zeros, but quantum computing uses something that's called a qubit,
Okay.
and it can actually represent four different states, and it uses what's known as quantum mechanics, which is the branch of physics that explains how electrons interact with each other to solve complex problems much faster than traditional computers. So, as I said, these classic computers use ones and zeros, two
Okay.
states, to do computations. And they have to do these computations in a serial or step by step fashion. So
Like
you
a
got to
linear
do step
fashion.
one,
Yep.
right? Very linear. You got to do step one, then step two, then step three, step four, and so forth. The value though is that they can do it very, very fast. They can
Mm.
do, millions of steps with these microchips in microseconds. All right. Quantum computers, on the other hand, use these qubits or quantum bits to do computations in parallel. So instead of doing one, then two, then three, then four, it can do one, two, three, and four all at the same time in parallel,
Mm.
which kind of, you know, that's mind blowing,
Yes.
blowing. So, but you can use these computers to simulate very complex things like chemical reactions, which can be used to develop new drugs and materials. You can also optimize complex systems like traffic flow or financial trading. And it solves problems in cryptography like cracking encryption codes. And that's what we're really afraid of right now. So
Right.
I hope that gives you a good idea of what quantum computing is.
Oh man, hey, that makes tons of sense, and I'm amongst the slowest in our audience here, and I remember back in the day, I took
Mhm.
in the '80s at Aiken Elementary in little Aiken, South Carolina. I took a extracurricular class, Computers 101, and
Yeah,
I was all excited, and we spent days on end just diving into ones and zeros, and I was like, oh man, that might be one reason I didn't get into computer engineering or something. Who knows? But Kevin, that's very
yeah.
helpful. So as you apply that quantum computing then to
Mhm.
supply chains or TNT supply chains or business, what are you between this read and your expertise? What are you expecting?
Well, so I started off by saying this is about information, right? It's about the information supply chain. So these supply chains in technology, media, and entertainment, and the telecommunication sector
Right.
are very nuanced, right? And they form very distinctive ecosystems that operate in parallel. It also has global reach, right? What good would it be if you had a movie and you could only show that movie to one person at a time in a serial fashion? You got to
Not
put
good.
that movie out to everybody at the same time, all right? And this is across the entire globe. So this creates dependencies that require very careful management, and you got to manage them at the same time.
Mm.
So the impact on this web of information supply chains, the use of quantum is just profound. Okay. So these information supply chains are becoming even more complex with Web 3.0 and technology 4.0, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing. So you need this advanced solution to optimize supply chain and operations management. So quantum computing may be just what we need.
Yeah, excellent. I really appreciate your perspective here today throughout all, but especially in this last one. And there's always common threads that emerge on any of our
Mhm.
shows. It just happens. It must be a rule out there, and life or physics or whatever.
In
But
quantum world, yes.
yes, in quantum world. And folks, if you're catching us late and you missed Kevin L. Jackson's explanation of quantum computing, you can also maybe get a certification by tuning in to Quantum Leap and Dr. Sam Becker, which is a great show. I hadn't watched the reboot, but it's fascinating because it really goes back to illustrating that point we made in the previous story or two about
Mhm.
we've got to. It's not a technology, whether it's quantum computing or anything else, is not a nice to have more and more. It's becoming table stakes because of sheer demand, the challenges,
Yeah.
what we're trying to do. Like Kevin, you use that simple example, which reminded me of Blockbuster when you said it. Blockbuster back in the day, if you weren't around, folks, when Blockbuster was in its heyday, you'd go into a
Mhm.
physical store. They had X amount of copies of a particular movie or new release. So think about maybe when Batman in 1989 dropped with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton. It was a massive, massive movie, right? Well, if you missed that in the movie offices, you go into a Blockbuster and they would have, say, 20 copies. And Kevin, to your point, if 20 people had rented out all 20 copies, guess what? You're out of luck. And guess what else? We would put up with it as customers those 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Kevin's laughing because customers don't put up with that anymore. And I think
Not anymore.
these TMT supply chains and how we manage information supply chains and streaming, we're all going to learn a lot more both about this particular aspect of global supply chain management, but also things like quantum computing and other technologies we've got to lean on. We have to make it happen and to keep our customers coming back. Kevin, I'll give you the final word before I point out a couple other factoids and start to wrap.
So you have to always be learning, right? And so don't be an ostrich and put your head in the hole.
Those are
Don't
words
be
to live
afraid
by.
of quantum. Yeah, don't be afraid of quantum computing.
Don't be an ostrich is what I was talking. I love that. Let me write that down. Don't be an ostrich. All right. So, folks, we have had quite a show. But before I wrap, a couple of things I want to share related to, again, back to computing and the supply chain, the physical supply chain
Mhm.
that fuels that word. Because we can't talk enough about fragility in our global supply chains. So how about these two factoids which were actually pointed out in this EY story? Kevin, 98% of all sub 5 nanometer semiconductor chip production capacity in the globe resides in Taiwan and South Korea. And did you know that Ukrainian companies produce about 54% of the global supply of semiconductor grade neon? Now, of course, we all know these regions are either impacted by, sadly, current conflicts or they're faced with potential new conflicts. So it kind of puts things in powerful perspective, at least from where I sit. All right. So moving right along, Kevin, moving right along. I want to make sure folks know how to connect with the one and only Kevin L. Jackson. Really enjoyed all the great work you're doing over at Digital Transformers. We got a couple new shows coming up soon.
Yes.
Kevin, how can folks connect with you?
Always by going to supplychainnow.com. There's the Digital Transformers tab right there. Just click on it.
Yes, sir.
Or LinkedIn, Kevin Jackson. I'm there and on the big X, Kevin_Jackson.
Love it.
Always follow Digital Transformers. Click and subscribe.
Click and describe. Don't be an ostrich. Don't get
Don't
out
be
and
an
learn new
us.
things, right? Lean
Yes.
into challenging new lessons that we all need to learn, like quantum computing, right? You'll be
Mm.
glad and better off that you did. Kevin, really enjoy our shows here together. And I want to go back to something you shared. I've got maybe 17 different Kevin L. Jackson isms I took today, but one that I don't think is contrarian at all. And that's kind of how you prefaced it. But here during February, where every year we
Yes.
celebrate Black History Month, I love what you said. Quote, folks, Black history is made every day. And it's so true. And we all can celebrate that and be thankful and grateful that it is. So, Kevin L. Jackson, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here today.
No, thank you. This is fun. I look forward to this every month. We got to do it more often.
That's right. That's right. And we got so much more work to do. But folks, you can check out the Buzz every Monday at 12 noon Eastern time. You can check out the Digital Transformers edition of the Buzz on the second Monday of each month, like the mail, like taxes. Well,
No, don't talk
toys.
about
Let's go to toys, like Kevin said
Don't
earlier.
talk about taxes.
But folks, the onus is on you. We're going to keep bringing you content and bringing you expertise and perspectives, tools and resources all day long, all week, all year. But you got to take something, put it into action. That's the onus is on you. It's not good enough to talk about it. It's all about deeds, not words. Your teams will be grateful. And with that said, on behalf of our entire team here at Supply Chain Now, Scott Luton challenging you to do good, to give forward, and to be the change that's needed. And we'll see you next time right back here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.